Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome. Okay, so who do I have today? I have Miss Holley Simmons. And I'm really excited to have her on because I'm in DC, she's in DC. She has this gorgeous floral shop. Well, actually, had because she just closed it so she can open up two more in the city, which she's going to get into, so I won't spoil it. And it's funny because I think flowers are kind of mystical and magical anyway. And if you've been following me for a while, I love me some flowers. I have plants all over my house, but I love buying fresh cut flowers. I actually bought some flowers from Holley at the height of the pandemic because she has done a lot of good things. From one of the things we're going to talk about is how she supported an organization that supports the elderly, but then also she did this amazing Black Woman series where Black women deserve flowers. I mean, she just does so many good things. I just love her whole vibe, all the things. But anywho, at the beginning of the pandemic, I supported one of her initiatives by buying some peonies. They were absolutely so beautiful. I ended up actually drying them out, and they still kind of smell very fragrant to this day. I keep them right in my window, in my office. They are just scrumptious. But anywho, so if you follow me, I love flowers. I have a whole Pinterest board dedicated to flowers, and I even have a widget on my phone that pulls from the pictures on Pinterest from the floral board. I mean, hardcore. Okay? With flowers, there's something magical and whimsical about it, and I feel like she is that magical, whimsical person that you would expect to own a flower shop. And I think Holley just embodies the whimsy that comes with florals because she just has like this free flowing spirit about her where she's just like, if I want something, I'm just going to get it and then I'm just going to figure out how to make it work. And there is something to be said about that because a lot of times people get tripped up on psyching themselves out. And even once they make the jump, they still fail at what they do because they never really believed in themselves and believed in their vision. But what I love about Holley is she's just like, okay, I know what I want. I'm just going to go for it. And, or, this seems interesting. Not sure where this is going to take me, but why not? And then just goes for it and then has a plan and executes it. I love that ability to take risk when everything isn't perfectly planned out, which is hard for a lot of us. But anyway, don't want to spoil anything in the episode, so I'll just say I have a good time chatting with her about how and why she quit her job in order to open up her flower shop, why she is opening up two new locations. We also talk a little bit about how she styles her photos because her photos are so beautiful. We talk about being your authentic self and taking risk and supporting initiatives you love and all the things. It was just a really fun, inspirational conversation that I hope inspires you to maybe do something that makes you uncomfortable or doesn't seem logical and just try it. What's the worst that can happen, right? Anyway, if you do end up loving this episode, which I know you will, please rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. If you're listening to this on some other vehicle, whatever their mechanism is, 5 stars, thumbs up. Please show me some love. And of course, subscribe. And sharing is caring, my friends. That's how people discover the podcast. All right, let me introduce you to Holley. Here we go. Hello, Holley. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Miss Nache. I'm so excited.
Before we get into She Loves Me, can you just tell the listeners a little bit about Holley? Who's Holley?
Absolutely, absolutely. So my name is Holley Simmons, Holly with an EY. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And I grew up in New Jersey, went to school in Virginia, and my background career-wise is actually in journalism. So my first job was at National Public Radio, and I was there for a couple years, bounced around a little bit, and before falling into flowers, I was a journalist at the Washington Post for 5 years. So I was covering the DC food scene. I was the dining editor of Express, which it's the old paper. They don't publish it anymore, but it's the one that you would hold over your head when it was raining. They gave it out for free on the streets. So I did all the dining content and also contributed to the Post proper as well. My background is in writing and research and journalism. And just on the side, I started actually teaching terrarium classes. That was how this all got started. I lived in Arizona very briefly and just got like very enamored by succulents. And this was like years ago, before they're literally on every single like cafe table and Trader Joe's and Target now. But back when I was shipping them in from California because you couldn't find them locally. You couldn't find them on the East Coast. So I found a supplier in California and I started teaching on my dining room table, and it just blew up. It was pretty cool. So after a few years of teaching and saving every penny that I earned from teaching, I opened the Lemon Collective with two of my dear friends, Catherine Zaremba and Linny Giffen. And that was my business prior to She Loves Me, where we essentially it was a maker space. You could come, you could rent it for a couple hours if you needed to write a book, or we taught all sorts of lessons, all sorts of classes. We reached out to people across DC. Now, shopkeepers, Shopmade in DC, a few folks that kind of do something similar, but so it doesn't sound that revolutionary. But a few years ago, it was the only game in town to come and just play and spill glitter and make a mess. So, yeah, I've always had this like maker in me. Even though I was writing and in journalism, I was always just toiling away at something. And I credit that to my mom as a seamstress. So
nice.
Like sewing like bra cups into dresses. Like she didn't have she was like, can you glue these rhinestones? And I was like, okay, mommy. So I've just like always been, even she wouldn't let me watch TV unless I was like cross stitching, or she really encouraged crafting and making. So it kind of followed with me.
Now question. So at what point did you decide to do this stuff full time and quit like your 9 to 5?
Yeah. So I mentioned that I set aside every penny I earned from the terrarium classes. Basically, I started a business bank account immediately. And every penny I earned from terrariums, I put in that account. And within like 4 or 5 months, I realized I was making more doing that than at the Post. So I went to my editor and I said, hey, I've been working really hard here. I've started another business called the Lemon Collective. I'm just like running around town. I could really use a break. Can I take 2 months off unpaid and just travel? And he was like, no, absolutely not. You can't do that. So I was like, okay, I think I'm going to quit then. Because it felt inhumane to not be able to travel or take time for myself. And I know that's the structures of employment, traditional employment. And I was just like, I don't think that's for me. I was in a fortunate enough place that I'm an only child. My parents paid for my college education, so I don't have student debt. I was in a position in which I was able to leave a full-time job to take more of a risk, but a calculated risk, again, because I could see that it was viable and that it was, making me money.
Let me ask you just a question, because I always like to give, because I know everybody's situation is very unique. So I always like to give perspective on like someone's comfort zone when they make a leap like that. So at the time, was it just you, or was it you and someone else? Or was it like, okay, I have to make it because there's nobody else that I could depend on?
Oh, no, it's just me. I remember I told my dad that I left my job And he was like, you what? And I was like, the only thing you need to know is that I'm not going to ask you for money. Honestly, I don't know. I will do anything before asking my parents for money. That's just my stubbornness. And I mentioned I'm an only child, so I have this a bit of I can do it on my own. I don't know. I've always just been really scrappy, I guess.
I absolutely love it because I feel like it can be done. It just gives people perspective regardless of what the situation is.
For sure. And I tied this all together with a pretty little bow on top. I just quit my job, but I really, it was incremental. It was very slow. It was very, again, calculated. And part of me knew that I could always go back to writing. Like I could always freelance or I could keep that thread. All it took was like, I would just need to write one story a month to like still be relevant. So I had safety nets on both ends. I was like, this looks viable. And if it doesn't work out, I've got this to fall back on. It doesn't have to be drastic. I would never suggest someone just like quit their job, but take small steps. If you have a passion, just taking small steps. What can I do today? Divide and conquer, and success will come. Truly.
No, I love it because there's someone out there that needed to hear that because
Let's call him, bring him in.
because I always tell people on the podcast, I love to provide a balance because entrepreneurship is different. Some people have it in them to do what it takes to work for themselves. And I have an upcoming episode about it. It may have aired already with Nache and I. But where other people need that structure, like they are not going to survive on their own because they need the structure of a 9 to 5, which is okay too. But you have to know yourself.
Yes. I am the literal opposite. I cannot stand structure. Honestly, like I recently hired an operations manager to help me at She Loves Me, which is a flower shop, by the way. I don't know if I ever mentioned that.
Oh, no worries. I did in the intro. Yeah.
Yeah. I recently hired an operations manager, and the first thing she did was lock me out of all the spreadsheets. She was like, I don't know what you're doing to all these neat little columns and things. She was like, but these are password protected now. You're out. And I was like, I need that. Thank you. Because it's just not, my brain doesn't work like that. My poor boyfriend, he's a scientist. And around the house, like everything is neat. Everything is like perfect right angles. And I'll literally just go through the house and turn everything, make it crooked. Like I need that chaos. There are certain people that talk to Nicole Capo. I know you've had her on the show. Like that woman deserves a friggin' Nobel Peace Prize for working with me. She it's just a champ. I love her so much. I am not easy to work with unless you vibe with that chaos.
Yeah.
Unless you see it and you see a challenge and you want to help me contain it. Yeah, but bring that up. It's just fun because we're opening 2 new stores this summer and I'm hiring. And as part of the interview process, I'm like, I am a monster.
Right. Like, let's be clear.
Very clear. I'm going to tell you to do something, and then 5 minutes later, I'm going to tell you to do something else. And it's not personal. It's just how I work.
But hey, that's that honesty. Like they know going in, right?
Exactly. Like, if that's going to make you roll your eyes and get really frustrated, like, this is probably not going to work out for you. But if you're like, cool, like, I just learned how to not do something. Now I'm going to do it again.
And then before we get into She Loves Me, because I always just like asking like some of the beginning questions because I know some of the people who are listening to the podcast are at that beginning, like you were when you were doing the classes. And I haven't asked this question in a while, so you may not have a good answer to this. And if not, I'll cut this question out. But one thing that people are fearful of when they do make the jump is health insurance. That is, I remember that came up number one when I sent out, it was like a year or two ago, about what do you want to know from entrepreneurs? So how were you able to make that work? Was that a scary part for you? Like not having the health insurance from a 9 to 5 job?
It's so funny because like you think of America as this like the hotbed of entrepreneurial spirit. And then you look at our healthcare system and it's like, It does not
Yeah.
add up. Does not compute. But yeah, it is really expensive. It really is expensive. And I think if you have a really good healthcare plan through your employer, that's obviously going to be difficult to leave. But I don't know. Like to me, it's an extra $300 a month to have that freedom. It's a cost, but the benefit is worth it to me. You
Yeah.
know,
No, that
but
makes
it's
sense.
not easy. It's definitely not easy. And I don't want to make it seem like everybody should have just $300 extra a month lying around. But when it comes to maybe you just cut other things to be able to afford it.
Yeah, that's like I forgot which guest it was. I think she was from season 3, and I remember asking her that question, and to her, she was just like, "When you're making money, you just build that into how much extra you need to make." Like to her, it was just like, "Why would
That's
that be an issue for people? You just figure out how to make that every month." And I was like, "Well,
exactly.
I guess so."
Exactly. And also, I love this myth of health insurance that like if you have health insurance, you don't have to still pay for healthcare. But like, even if you have the best healthcare plan, you're still probably going to get hit with these bills.
It's like, what do you do? Right. Now I get it. I just read a really interesting comment on just our healthcare system, but that gets into a whole other ball of wax. And then one other question about your beginnings. The terrarium business, right? I mean, that's like random. So, how does one grow like courses on terrariums?
I'll tell you how. You kill hundreds of them. You just destroy them in every way possible until you feel like, hey, maybe I know what I'm doing here. Because what I realized when I was learning how to make terrariums, I was online, I was researching, doing a lot of like online reading about them. But they're a West Coast plant. They're native to like desert environments and really arid, dry places, very hot places. So everything I was reading online was not adding up for DC temperatures. I was
Mm.
following every instruction, but all my succulents were dying. So I was like, I got to adapt. This is not the way to raise them out east. So I literally just took notes, I documented it, and I was passionate about it. It wasn't something like calculated. Oh, no one's doing succulents out here. This is my opportunity. I was like, these succulents are freaking interesting. They're cool. They're like the one thing I don't like about succulents is they take a long time to die. So anytime I would try to like new experiment, I would have to wait months to see if it was like effective. You know? Even if you lock them in a closet and water them every day, they still live for a month. You're like, God, so I can document what happened.
Yeah. But that's interesting because once you, I guess, figured out the formula, did you just put it out there? Hey, does anyone want to know how to make these?
It's open. I gave out care cards. I mean, I have taught terrariums, if I had to guess, to like over 5,000 people.
Wow. So it's literally you just kind of put yourself out there on social and just said, hey, you want to learn terrariums?
Well, it was
I'm your gal.
People just loved it. People were like, what's that? Terrariums are so cute. But it's so funny. I'll be walking around DC and I'll just see dead terrariums in the windows. And I'm like, yep, that's mine. People just like forgot to water them or take care of them. But I'm like, I know that terrarium. It's happened so many times. But yeah, people come with their friends. Then I started doing bachelorette parties. Then it became like a corporate thing. So law firms would have me in to teach terrarium making.
Wow. And it was literally just like putting yourself out there. And I only stress this because people always ask too, they're like, how can I get people to notice me? How can I get people to sign up for X, Y, and Z? So that's why I'm asking you, did you do anything special? Was it really just like emailing people? Was it DMing people?
I taught people in my house for a couple years. So I didn't even have, literally, I would run down and let people in. And like my poor roommate, oh my God, I was putting dirt in all of her grandma's china. Like she was just like so patient with me. But no, I am still very enthusiastic about them. I still teach them to this day, and every class is
Mm.
different. And we talk about relationships. We talk about life. It's not just terrariums. We address a lot of things. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot of like encouragement. I had a woman cry in class one day. It was not related to the
Aw.
terrariums, but she stuck around after class and we chatted. So I like to think that it's a combination of just a very unique and interesting topic and my love for teaching. And I think that comes through in the classes. So I
Oh
really
wow!
try to,
So people just saw it, signed up, and said, "Okay,
yeah. And
nice."
again, it was a lot of just word of mouth. And then when we
Wow.
opened the Lemon Collective, I taught terrariums pretty much exclusively. So if there was like 3 classes a month, people could just sign up. It's affordable. It was like $50. You come for an hour, you leave with a cool like new thing.
Something
But,
tangible. Yeah.
and I
Hmm.
honestly, if anybody's thinking about teaching, if anybody's thinking about like getting out there, I am available to chat with. I love encouraging people and helping folks carve out a teaching plan. It truly is my passion, and it's been hard. Obviously, this pandemic has been difficult for everybody for a number of reasons, but specifically, I miss that in-person teaching aspect. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to get back to it.
Let's talk about She Loves Me.
Yay!
So you do the terrarium courses, you do the lemon collective with your friends,
Yeah.
and that kind of helps with the terrarium courses because it gives you a place and then it gives other creators a place. And so where did She Loves Me come from? By the way, love the name is
Oh,
just perfect. But how did that all come about?
I think just naturally out of terrariums, people started asking me if I could do flowers. Oh, can you do a bouquet with
Mm.
with a succulent in it? Or I'm getting married next week, and I was meeting so many people at these classes. I can't even tell you. Like every week, there's 20 people per class, just like funneling through. I like to think this is another sidetrack. Sorry.
No, let's go.
And But I heard somewhere that if you're a plumber and you meet somebody, you want them to walk away thinking, what kind of plumbing do I need? What can I do to call that person and support them? Let me think about like things around the house that I can use help with. And I always like to bring that to my classes and any interaction. I want people to remember me and want to support me because they like me and they like my vibe. So
Mm.
I like to think that as part of all those classes, people started being like, I need plants, I need flowers, how can you help me? So I just said yes to everything. And I spent a lot of time on YouTube. I spent a lot of time learning. I think one quality that an entrepreneur should possess is not being afraid to fail at something. Because the more you fail, the more you learn. It's fail now, get to failing. The sooner you fail, the sooner you're going to learn and get better. And I'm fortunate enough that my medium, flowers, are just inherently beautiful. Not to say anybody can do it or that it's super easy, but even when you're getting started specifically with flowers, like people are still 99% of the time happy, even if it's not the perfect bouquet.
I'm actually looking at some peonies that I dried out from She Loves Me, which
Yes.
are still, let me show you.
I
Yeah, still look
oh,
good in my little bottle here.
so
So, dead
pretty.
or alive, She Loves Me flowers are
Yeah.
gorgeous because the peonies arrived perfectly and then I
Oh,
dried them out and they're like a
time.
beautiful addition to my office. But they are like they're gorgeous and your photos are gorgeous too. So let me just tell you, because I'm a flower girl, I follow like a lot of flower people and I've pinned a lot of floral on Pinterest. So it's all about the pictures too.
Oh
And
my
your
God.
pictures are really good.
I
So
appreciate
how did you get your style and how did you figure out how to like brand She Loves Me?
Oh my gosh. It When I first opened She Loves Me, I had a florist. I had an amazing florist, Megan Adams, and she is from Portland. And I met her through, this is crazy. This is also very indicative of how things come together for me. I was at a bar reading a vintage magazine about flowers, like literally just like sitting by myself at the bar. And the general manager walked by and he was like, oh, that's such a cool magazine. What are you doing? Reading it. And I said, I'm starting a flower shop. And he was like, I just moved here with my girlfriend from Portland. She's a florist looking for work. And we met, and Megan and I were like crying before the end of the meeting. Like we had chills. Like it was just so meant to be. So a lot of the imagery you see is Megan's work. I want to make sure that she's giving credit for that. So like our small, medium, and large, Megan makes those.
Yeah.
But Megan has not worked with us for over a year now. So any recent photos are my creations. But all that being said, I just wanted to give credit where credit was due. But in general, I like very organic, very loose arrangements. And I think that kind of defines our style. When you look out a field of wildflowers, there's different heights, different colors, different depths, different lengths. And I take all that into consideration when designing. And it's organized chaos, which I think we kind of touched on earlier.
But it works.
That's my thing.
It works.
Yeah.
And what year did you start She Loves Me?
So we started at the end of 2018. We opened like December 2018.
Now we have to get into, you just changed locations, right? Or
Yeah.
opened up. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I forgot, where is it located now? The new location are you out there now?
Okay. So we closed the Petworth location back in March. It's now May. So since March, I've been working out of my house, while my new shops, I'm opening 2 new stores, while my new shops are being constructed. Both of those should wrap up mid-July. So my poor boyfriend, again, like he likes order and like
flowers everywhere.
Oh my God.
Your house smells really good.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm like, there are worse things to have lying all around the house. But he opened the fridge the other day and there was like a huge bouquet and he just lost it. He was like, I'm ordering out, like we are not cooking tonight. So yeah, credit. He deserves a gold star too. So yes, our 2 new locations. I did not set out to open 2 new stores, but you just gotta say it when opportunities come and figure it out. The first one, the larger one, this is going to be our flagship location. It's going to be twice as large as the Upshur Street location. Mm-hmm. It's in Northeast DC in Eckington, right near that terrible Wendy's circle.
Yeah.
That traffic circle. It's going to be in the lobby of a new development. So very excited about that. Yeah. There's 4 separate entrances to this shop. There's from the lobby, from the west side, and from the south side. So just floor to ceiling, windows, 2 sinks. I'm going to have a cooler. I've never owned a cooler. It's so funny. People would come, florists would come to the shop and be like, where's your cooler? Where do you keep all your flowers? I don't have one. Like, they are in and out. These
right.
Not come here. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here, flowers. So I'm very excited. It's going to be like more of a facility. We're going to have multiple work tables, which I'm excited for because that means we can host classes. We're going to host in-shop, which I love. I found a mantle on Craigslist when I was in New York a couple weeks ago. Just like cruising on Craigslist, found a mantle and picked it up. So we're going to have a really beautiful like vignette. I can just see it all in my head. And it's going to be really pretty. I love creating spaces. If anybody had a chance to go to the first She Loves Me, I just really loved transforming that space.
Very beautiful.
Oh,
I'll make sure to post some pictures from your Instagram on in the show notes so people can see it.
Yeah, the before and afters are particularly my favorite. It used to be a shoe shop for 51 years, and the owner cut a hole in the floor, and he would throw nails into the basement through the hole in the floor. Which, kudos to you for being efficient. But yeah, I loved building that space out. So I'm really excited to do it again in Eckington. And then the second location will be in Capitol Hill, right on Barracks Row.
Oh!
Yeah. Yes, my friend Aaron Silverman owns Rose's Luxury. And
yeah, that's right by me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we'll be super close. He is leasing a space 2 doors down from Rose's in order to expand their catering company, their catering arm of the business. Oh. So during the day, it's just going to be empty. And in the evening, they're going to be churning out delicious food. So he asked if I wanted to just kind of share the space a little bit. So in the front, there will be a flower shop, and in the back, it'll be a commercial kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's question for you, right? So you have this cute little shop, and I've been to the shop before. It It was, I guess. So so cute. It was, yeah, it's I feel like you just go in there and you're just like surrounded with flowers and other little beautiful things cuz you used to sell like other little things in there too.
Exactly.
And so what made you decide to go to a new location? Two new locations. That's
I
big
know.
moves there.
It's big moves. Honestly, I don't think I would have made this move had it not been for everything that happened within the last year. Everything
Mm.
shutting down, everything evolving. I'm trying not to use the P word, pivot, but but basically when my lease was ending at the end of 2 years, I had the option to renew, but I thought, let me see what's out there. I feel like if I'm gonna get a good deal right now is the time. Like, unfortunately, businesses are closing, but that's opening up a lot of new
Mm.
spots. And so I just put out some feelers. And in addition, our deliveries exploded. So
Mm.
if you, okay, pre COVID, I would say 50% of our income was weddings, 40% was workshops, and 10% was retail, basically.
Mhm.
We did deliveries, but we didn't advertise it because it was such a pain in the butt. If someone would order a delivery, I'd be like, oh my God, call Uber. Do you have a cousin who has a car? It was just like this total, like everything was come to a halt. Then once COVID hit, there went the weddings, there went the workshops. I had to close my
Yeah.
retail store. So literally, like overnight, I was like, I guess we're doing deliveries now. At the height of the pandemic, we were doing 200 deliveries a week, whereas
Whoa.
where we used to do literally, I'm not kidding, maybe three a month.
Wow.
And again, I make it sound like overnight, you just started doing 200 deliveries. No, let's call Nicole in right now. Nicole plotted addresses in Google Maps and called customers when the address was wrong. It was really hard because, again, you're moving highly perishable emotional products
Yeah.
around the city. So that was really hard. It took me the last year to figure out how to do deliveries. And I'm still, of course,
Mhm.
out. But when that arm of the business expanded, we ran out of space. So it was an issue of like,
Mm.
there, and also we can't do this on this one little table here anymore. We're running out of space.
So you're like, you're not going to want to admit this, but you're like marketing genius a little bit from, we're going to go back to the terrariums, people.
Okay. Oh my god.
From putting yourself, those, out there as a teacher of terrariums to the pandemic hits, I am assuming, but definitely correct me if I'm wrong. You're like, holy smokes, no one's doing weddings. Everything is
Yeah,
on a halt. I need to make money, right? To live
exactly.
and to sustain. I need to pivot. What am I going to do? I feel like, was it through marketing where you were like on your Instagram or your newsletter or through the paper or whatever, where you said, hey, people, we're now doing deliveries, and you just marketed like crazy in order to put it out there that this is your thing now?
What we did, I'm happy that you asked that question because it shows that you're like coming in with a fine tooth comb here. I love it. Basically, I like very much believe in being genuine. And the first thing that I thought of when everything started going down, businesses were closing, elderly people were being really affected. Of course, that was like one of the first statistics that we knew about COVID was it impacted elderly people more so than anybody else. And for years,
Mm-hmm.
I had volunteered with an organization in DC called We Are Family, and they deliver food to elderly, isolated seniors throughout DC. We deliver food and sit with them and talk with them a little bit. So that was already like on my radar. I knew the organizers. It was something that was very important to me to be a part of. And then once COVID hit, I was like, all right, charity bouquet, let's do it. Like $35, proceeds benefit We Are Family. And it exploded. I think
Mm.
people were also just like wanting to help. Again, put yourself back like over a year ago now. Like there were so many questions, so much fear, and people just wanted to help and contribute. And I think sending flowers was a no brainer. But to me, it was more like a vehicle to help these people and do something, again, that was really genuine and authentic to me. I always try to look within my circle before reaching out and just finding someone who has a lot of Instagram followers and asking them to collaborate. Now, who do I know with, or who do I already have personal relationships with? So through that charitable bouquet initiative, we got to work out a lot of the kinks in our system. To call it a system is like a joke. So we got to work out that. We got put, quote unquote, put on the map for doing deliveries. Now people think of us as a delivery service.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I just do what I want. Do you know what I mean? I want to help. I want to do this. I want to spread flowers. I want to do this. How can I know what I want and then I reverse engineer it?
I like that. And I think, it goes back to what I've said on the podcast too. It's like, all you can do is be your authentic self. One thing that reminds me, or one guest that reminds me of your story is I had interviewed Nicole Crowder and her meditation pillows, because she had originally just was giving them out to people. Right? Because it was like during the height of the pandemic and she just wanted people to have something, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, we all do like tons of things for good reasons and nothing may come of it. And you should never, of course, do anything in order to get something. But I think when you just are doing something that you're genuine about, like that you truly care about, like good things just come regardless if it's tied to that thing or not. You should just do you and what makes you feel good.
The opposite is true. If you're not genuine, it's going to catch up to you. Like, you're going to be found out. And speaking of Nicole, I think it's like beautiful and brilliant that recently she stopped selling meditation pillows. She put out a call to all of her subscribers and was like, we're not offering this service anymore. Here's someone else who can help you with them. But that's also being true to yourself. It's deciding like, this no longer serves me. This got me to a certain point and I'm going to let it go now. So not acting out of fear or from a lack mentality, but just being confident and genuine enough to let go of things.
Yeah, because it's funny. When I ordered these peonies, I think I ordered them when you were doing the senior thing. I feel like I was part of that, whatever it was. I feel like it was around that time.
Yeah, and I think I remember throwing a couple extra in because I was like, I love Nache so much.
But I just remember because I love companies or anybody who does anything with the seniors. Like even I remember just in the Navy Yard area, they had a thing even over the holidays where you can make cards for the seniors. So I remember dropping off some cards.
Listen, I am showing my hand here and I'm going to regret this, but if you mention something is for your grandma, I will drive to Vienna. I will show up to her doorstep. I will go out of my way to make grandma feel special. I can't say no to grandmas.
Because we've got to cherish our seniors, right? And
my grandma is my best friend. So, that's also why I spend a lot of time with the seniors through that organization, just because she tells me all the time how grateful she is to have me to talk to. And and I feel the same way with her. So it feels selfish because I just love hanging out with them.
No. But it all makes sense because just by doing that, just by chance, it gave you the taste of deliveries. And then all of a sudden you're just like, I can do this. Okay.
Yeah. And it was like out of necessity because we really couldn't do anything else.
It was like because literally there were no events going on. That was the only thing. And everybody was getting food delivered. So why not flowers?
Exactly. So now that the weddings and everything are coming back, it's nice that we have this really fine-tuned delivery arm of the business that almost runs itself at this point. Again, it's not like it could always be smoother, but thank you to Meredith, the spreadsheet locker. She has really transformed things for us. I'm optimistic and I'm really excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, if we could do all this during a pandemic, what the hell is it going to look like when things are open again? Like, I cannot wait. I already have so many ideas. It's crazy.
Because I feel like on the podcast, we've talked about diversifying your income. you literally have like deliveries now, events that are coming back, and then once your place opens in July, you're going to have classes, in-person classes.
In-store shopping again. People can come and visit.
And in-store shopping. I mean,
I also bought a horse trailer recently. Did you see this on Instagram?
Did I saw that, and I've been to, yes, I saw that. So the funny thing is, I'm glad you brought that up and showed that, because the podcast I had before this one is called Can I Park Here? Where I would interview with my friends fashion trucks.
Oh my God. So, who is the woman? She owns Unlit now.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because that's like a whole world out there, like selling stuff out of trucks. So when you saw, I saw that I think I saw it like on your stories, and I was just like, oh, is she doing like a truck or a trailer? Genius. How did that come about?
I was literally drinking wine and on Craigslist. That is the beginning and end of that story. I was like, oh, that thing's kind of cute. And then I went out to check it out. It was like $4,000. I'm like, I guess that's good for a trailer. I don't know. It seems fair. So I went out to look at this trailer, and and then so then I had to buy a Jeep. I had to buy like a 4-wheel drive Jeep to pull this thing. Oh my, it's been like just the most expensive crush I've ever had. But
I love it because there was a flower truck, and I think it was in New York. I can't think of the name of it, but I think she did pretty well, like going around New York in her, I forgot if it was like a trailer or a truck. And so that's like another way to allow you to be mobile. There's a little bit of work in it because you have to show up to the events, and that's maybe someone else you might have to hire to help with that. But it makes you mobile, so you're not only like stationary. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't want to get into it. It's so boring, but basically I can't park it on the street. It's too large of a vending vehicle. So I can only park it in private parking lots and private. That was something I found out after the fact. Again, this thing, like, so if I could go back in time, I'm very happy to have it. I'm exploring, like, that was just our debut last weekend. So I'm exploring other ways to utilize it, but there will be a spot for it out front of the new shop. So that is, if nothing else, it will be a permanent fixture.
Be like right there.
Yeah. And I picture us like selling plants out of it, or having the coffee pop up, like inviting somebody to come and sell coffee one morning. I don't know. It's fun to have. And I did modify it a little bit. A friend of mine like cut out a larger window and made it more appropriate for vending. So I feel committed to it. It's a cute little thing.
I like it because even if it stays outside the store, there are some people who wouldn't walk in the store, and by just seeing it out on the street on the corner, they might be like, oh, let me pick up some flowers for my friend, or let me pick up some flowers for my spouse, because it's literally just right there.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. So yeah. So no, this is good, but I love like people hearing like how things happen, because a lot of times things are very organic. Not everything is planned out. Like, not you weren't like, okay, let me research this trailer, and I think this trailer is going to bring me X amount of dollars in, right?
My accountant wish I'd had that conversation, but you know.
But your spontaneity works for you. It doesn't work for everybody, right? Because some people would have done that, freaked out, not know what to do with it. But I feel like, you just seem like the kind of person that will make it work no matter what.
And fortune favors the bold. You will never know unless you do it. And again, it doesn't mean you have to quit your job and buy a trailer, but what does scary look like to you? What is one way to peel back that scary? Do you reach out to an artist you admire? Do you buy a sewing machine? Do you call your grandma and ask her how to make that recipe? Like, it's just little steps. Break it down.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. So, couple wrap-up questions. Okay, so I know you said you really don't like structure, but how do you stay organized? What is your form of structure? Like, how do you keep it together? Keep everything together. Keep yourself sane.
I struggle with it. Sometimes, like, it allows me, again, to just express myself and do the things I want, but I do find myself sometimes, oh my God, I can't believe I left my passport in the copy machine at FedEx. Like, I can't believe I did that. In terms of like apps and things, literally nothing. Meredith manages my calendar. She reminds me things. I'm ashamed to say that.
Sometimes you need people, though.
You know,
You got your circle. You need people.
My boyfriend keeps me in line. I'm not exaggerating. I'm a monster. I'm a tornado. I have my
But
own
here's the thing. But what I love is that you recognize that, and you've surrounded yourself with order.
Oh my gosh. I used to do yoga every morning before the pandemic, and that was really helpful. I haven't done it since, but like having that routine was really nice. But yeah, now I have absolutely zero routine. And without getting too much into this, my parents are divorced. They divorced when I was 2, and I was joint custody every other day. So mom Monday, dad Tuesday, mom Wednesday, dad Thursday. So I do. I know. I think it would be like legitimately illegal today. I can't believe that the courts allowed it. But I literally lived out of a suitcase for 10 years. And I like to think that, I don't know.
It's kind of like that movement.
Drive with chaos, but I recognize it. Like, I'm comfortable with it.
But I think it's funny because I'm always pushing like productivity stuff out there to people. So everybody's, oh my God, Nache, you're so organized, you're this, and that. But what I tell people is if you talk to mom and you talk about 16-year-old Nache, 18-year-old Nache, 20-year-old Nache, I wasn't that structured. Like my mom was like really type A and she was very orderly. Everything had to be in its place. Like she was that kind of person. Like she balanced her checkbook to the T, like to the penny. And I picked it up because I just needed to and I just learned to, right? But I'm not naturally like a structured person. I just do it because I learned how, you know?
Like you have right. Yeah.
So I feel you. Sometimes you just have to go with it. And clearly it's worked for you.
Oh my God. I have missed flights in the airport, sitting at the gate. I have been escorted off a plane in Oaxaca for thinking I was ready to board. You do not want to travel with me unless there's a chance you're going to end up in prison. Like, if you're cool with that, then let's book a trip.
Oh my God. So it's so funny because I have a friend like that and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I need to put some structure in your life because you're going to get all of us in trouble.
I'm here for it.
So I get it. So it's served you, but it's bitten you in the butt a little bit too.
Oh, yes.
No, that's good. Okay, so no organization tips from Holley people.
I'm sorry.
And so, do you have a hobby?
Not currently. I want to get back into sewing. I mentioned my mom is a seamstress, and I've always wanted to learn drum lessons. I've always wanted to take drum lessons. I just find, again, like just banging a bunch of shit random is very on brand. But I have recently realized that I need to find a hobby because I need to feel like a beginner again at something. Not to say that I'm an expert or a pro at what I'm doing now. I'm continuing to learn. But as I'm training people and as I'm becoming a manager, hiring more staff, I need to remember more acutely what it feels like to be new at something. Because I need to learn how to be patient with people. I need to learn how to teach. So it's really important for me to find something to be a beginner at pretty soon. Maybe it's drum lessons. It's definitely not cooking. I do not like cooking.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not, but yeah. And I've never been really sporty either. So I don't think it would be like running or anything like that. Maybe it's accounting or like spreadsheets. What do people like?
I know.
When your passion becomes your job, you have to find a job to be your passion. Like maybe it'll be data entry or
Yeah, or it could be something as simple as like embroidery or cross
yeah,
stitching.
yeah.
Yeah, something very, very random, like painting
Ooh,
or
painting.
yeah,
And yeah, I've always wanted to be better at art. My grandfather was an artist, and
yeah. Or it could be just reading, right? Like you can get like a goal of reading like one good book a month, or yeah, it could be anything.
you mentioned books. Sorry, I know that we're coming to the end of this, but for entrepreneurs out there, I cannot recommend this book enough. It's called The E-Myth. If anybody's
Oof,
familiar with it.
yes.
So if you're starting a new business or thinking about starting a new business, I wish I'd read The E-Myth years before I started my business. I feel like I read it too late. It was written in like the 80s, so McDonald's is the example they use for everything. So if you can get past like them talking about McDonald's every page, I highly, highly recommend it. And I'm just sharing that because I know that a lot of entrepreneurs listen to your show.
Oh no, and we love some books.
Yeah,
Yes. No,
yeah.
I'll make sure to put that in the show notes. But please tell the listeners where they can find you, all the things, all the places.
Thank you. We are on Instagram at She Loves Me DC. We are online at shelovesme.com. I spent a lot of money on the URL so people wouldn't forget it. Shelovesme.com. And we are going to be in Eckington in July and Capitol Hill in July as well. And those addresses for the new shops are up online on our website. And we are hiring. I know I've like probably scared 99% of people away, but I guarantee it'll be a really fun ride. It'll be an adventure if you work with
And
us.
and if anyone listens to the episode I did with Nicole, she loved working with you.
Oh my God, she's so diplomatic. I would do anything for that woman. I mean it.
but and here's the thing too, whoever works for you, it gives them a chance to like learn how to be organized, how to help you out. It's like a good like position so they can build some heart.
Exactly.
Little
Exactly.
character.
We're gonna have fun. We will have fun.
But no, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
This is such a treat. I've been looking forward to it, and you're just such a joy. So thank you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I just want to point out one thing that I love that she said. I loved a whole bunch of things, but I'm just going to point out this one thing that she said where she talks about reverse engineering an idea. And that is literally the way to go, people. If you want to do something, figure out what is the end goal, like exactly, write it down. What is your end goal? What do you want to accomplish? And then reverse engineer it. It's what and when. And then you reverse engineer it from there, and then boom, take action. And that's it, folks. That is it, my friends. That is how you achieve success. Anyway, would love to hear what you guys think about this episode. You can catch the show notes in nachesnow.com/135. I love to hear from you. You can comment on the post itself, or you can comment on the Instagram post. All right, remember sharing is caring, my friends. Please share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Please rate me 5 stars and leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps people discover me. Thumbs up on YouTube and a comment over there also helps. Remember to subscribe wherever you are listening. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. All right, guys. Until next time. Bye.